The next generation is almost here, but if you want to see some comparisons to how graphics might be, these mods might help. Hi folks, it's Falcon, and today on GameRanks, 5 ray tracing mods that show next-gen graphics. At number 5 is the Witcher 3 Ray Trace mod. A mod coming to us from a guy named Pascal Gilcher, which adds a very obvious thing to The Witcher: a screen space, ray traced, global illumination shader. There are a ton of graphical enhancement mods for this game, but none of them do what this one does. It is a total no bullshit ray tracing solution that adds so much more dynamic and realistic light and shadows into the game. Now, what makes global illumination stand out is how it models the way light is reflected and refracted on surfaces. Most games cheat this by simply generating some ambient light sources and baking them into the environment via textures, meaning like they figure out how to do a very low resolution texture that fakes the lighting, more or less, and goes over the other texture. Global ray tracing is obviously different than that. It actually models the effects that create ambient light. Now, all that really means is lighting with this mod just looks way better. In some cases, it might be kind of hard to notice at first, but compare how the game looks with global illumination turned off and how it looks turned on. Like, it's a more significant change than you might first think, and in my opinion, it's even kind of the type of change that doesn't fully register with your brain. However, looking at them, you're like, wow, that one looks way better. Probably the most impressive thing about this mod is that it's not locked in any one specific game. You can actually get it set up in almost anything, as long as it doesn't have some kind of anti-cheat program that would interfere with the mod. Thing about that is, though, that The Witcher 3 is honestly just a beautiful game anyways. So having the global lighting, ray tracing, screen space reflections, it really puts it above and beyond. At number 4 is Batman Arkham Knight's ReShade Ray Tracing shader mod. Now, Arkham Knight is just a really good looking game, even now. I think that, like, genuinely, it's a beautiful game. Like, look at it without any mods and tell me that's not holding up. It's holding up. However, you throw in ray tracing and this game looks absolutely incredible. But there's not really a lot of people working on ray tracing in the modding space. The ones that do are really impressive though. Wild thing is, this is the same mod as the Witcher mod that we just showed you. You just adjust your setting with the ReShade program, drop in RTGI files, ray tracing, global illumination mod files, and you're pretty much set. Some games require some minor fiddling. Arkham Knight pretty much works right off though, and the effect is just stunning. Compared to the standard game, the lighting is much more dynamic and impressive with the sharpening that's added and ray tracing. I mean, it's just a really big upgrade to a game that already genuinely looks amazing. There are some downsides though. It's a reshade rather than a setting baking into the game, so it can't really reflect light sources that are seen off screen. The very nature of a reshade means it can only work with data that is on screen. That doesn't mean it's just some filter over the screen. It's a legitimate ray traced global illumination with everything that entails. It's just that the effect only covers what's on your screen rather than the entire game world. In a lot of ways, that actually can kind of make it more system intensive, as most games with ray tracing limit the effects to certain elements, but with this mod, you have to generate it for the whole screen all the time. So just keep that in mind if you plan on trying this stuff. You're gonna need a beastly machine to run these games at like 4K with these effects turned on. At number 3 is Fallout 4. Again, ReShade. This is the third game we're talking about with Pascal's ReShade Ray Tracing shader. The fact that it works so well in such a diverse selection of games shows just how talented this guy is. Like, for their actual job, they work with NVIDIA on things like Ansel and Freestyle modules for the GeForce experience. So their work with reshades actually goes all the way back to San Andreas. Now, on top of the truly impressive global illumination ray tracing they've added to the game, you can also turn on that screen space reflection shader, which has its own form of ray tracing on top of this mod. It is a, well, let's just say system melter, and it does not work for every game. But the added reflections combined with the new lighting can make Fallout 4 look like an almost new game. The difference with this one is probably the most stark. Turned off, the lighting is just really flat, which is what you're probably used to with Fallout 4. But the global illumination makes it really pop, especially during certain times of the day. But like, the thing to consider here is really just how flat the regular lighting for this game actually is. That's not to say this is a bad looking game or anything like that, but with Pascal's mod, it's so much better. At number 2, Watchdogs Natural and Realistic Lighting mod. So, Watchdogs was one of the first, if not the first, next-gen game that really got hit with the downgrade hammer. Like, that debut trailer was impressive. We saw a version of Chicago dense with weather and glowing lights. It was beautiful. Honestly, I was so excited, and then the actual game, even after some pretty big delays, well, it didn't even come close. Perhaps the most frustrating aspect of it is that a lot of the stuff is still in the code and people uncovered it, but that's besides the point. Fortunately, some intrepid modders decided to try and replicate the first trailer and try to get the original Watchdogs to look as good. This mod, called Natural and Realistic Lighting for Watchdogs, in many ways makes the game actually look better than that original trailer, at least a lot of the time. It doesn't just add in some reshade effects, it also adds some other effects like relief mapping, which makes brick roads and buildings look way nicer. It improves the lighting on the vehicles, the vegetation is much more realistic, smoke, steam, it all looks way better. There's a lot of improvements in there. If you combine all that with the global illumination effects from the previous mod, you end up with this game that looks insane. Even compared to the still honestly pretty unimpressive PC release. What were you doing with that one, Ubisoft? What were you doing? It was your time to shine, guys, and you didn't. You probably could have made up for a lot, but you didn't. I mean, that's not to get too pissy about the graphics for this game. As far as Watchdogs, like, the later entries to the series are really where the idea was truly realized. However, the original version of this game that we saw looked just starkly different. When I say the downgrade hammer, I mean it was the first game to be downgraded that significantly. And these mods do a great job of making up for it. And finally, at number 1, it's Grand Theft Auto 5's Natural Vision Evolved. Now, this is a mod we've mentioned before, and I think, it's pretty obvious as to why. It's just one of the best. And what it does with the aging GTA 5 engine is genuinely incredible. Honestly, there's no limit to the amount of praise and accolades that should be levied on this mod. It's such an incredible, big change to an already fairly good-looking game, to be frank. The effect is most immediately noticeable on cars. The ray-traced effects look amazing from the outset, but there's all these little tweaks to textures and lighting and fog, and they genuinely make the game look next-gen. It's so incredibly impressive. I don't think I can say that enough times. There is a downside, it is kind of difficult to get running at a stable frame rate, even on the best PCs. Thankfully, it's not too hard to fine-tune some of the more system-killing effects, so you will be able to make the game look as good as you can. And yes, you can combine the global illumination ray tracing effect with this mod as well, which truly only makes the game look better, even if not quite as flashy as some of the natural vision changes. For taking what is now a pretty old game at this point, and basically making it look new, it's pretty impressive. Obviously, Los Santos is an incredibly interesting looking city, with a very diverse range of landscapes, cityscapes, environments, vehicles, buildings, but in truth it really becomes this amazing cinematic experience. Also, they just do a really good job putting together trailers for this mod. They're these moody experiences. I enjoy watching them, to be frank. There's always some sort of dramatic song, and they do all these incredible camera movements. It's not super important to talk about the trailers in this video, but if you like that kind of thing, maybe check it out. And they've done quite a few natural vision trailers, just to be clear. A lot of them are really good too. That would be all for today. Which of these mods did you consider coolest? Are you excited for the next generation of graphics where ray tracing is super prominent and we just see lots of cool stuff all the time? I am. Leave us a comment, let us know what you think though. If you like this video, click like. If you're not subscribed, now's a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every day of the week, and the best way to see them first is, of course, a subscription. So click subscribe. Do not forget to enable all notifications, and as always, we thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter, Falcon the Hero. We'll see you next time, right here on Game Ranks.